Okay, we just finished creating two lines um, between 2 points, and this is to define the beginning and the end of our alignment. We then set those two lines at 0 elevation. So I'm going to carry on now with what I'd like you to do. Let's go over to these two here. 1093 and 1094, okay? And if we do exactly the same thing, like I said, we should get exactly the same result. So here's my, remember this is a line on top of a line, so we have to be a little bit careful here. So there's my short line right there from 1093 to 1094. Now what I want to do is I want to draw the perpendicular bisector to that line, and there's a really nice command here. It's in the draw palette up here. We're going to select our line command. That's this one, and at the very bottom there's a command called create line perpendicular from point. Now you're going to, if you hover over the command long enough, these tooltips will appear, and you should, especially when you're learning, you should read these. And this says it creates a line that is perpendicular to another line or radial to a curve, and then you select the location of the perpendicular point and you specify the distance. So let's click on that command, create line perpendicular from point. Now it says select the arc or line. In this case, we're going to select our line. Make sure you're getting that short line there. Now it says specify the perpendicular point, and here's where I'm going to hold down the shift button and then right click, and I'm going to select midpoint, and I'm going to choose the midpoint of my line. Now be careful here because there's another midpoint right there, but we want the one that's the midpoint of our short line. And then you're going to, we want the line to go off in this distance. I think you have to pull the cursor in this direction. And then the distance here will be exactly 70 feet. So I'm going to type in 70 and hit enter, and there's my line. Okay, and this is just a label from the slope labeling. Let's take the time, though, to list that line. LI for list, and then I'm going to select the line. I'm hoping I see all zeros for my Z coordinates, and you can see here that that's the case. I can see this is important to check. We're looking for this, all of these to be 0. You see, we don't want any elevations to affect the lengths of these lines. We just want the horizontal distance. Now let's do the same exact thing over at this end, only a different distance. Okay, so select your line command, go down to create line perpendicular from point, select your short line. The point again will be the midpoint, so shift right click brings up your list of object snaps, select midpoint, and then choose the midpoint of that line. Pull your cursor in this direction, and this distance will be 150 feet. 150, enter. Okay, and now let's list that line just to be sure. LI for list, select the line, right click on the mouse, and again, I'm just looking to make sure that these values are all 0. Okay, now life gets simple. We're going to simply draw a line due east from the endpoint of this line. I did this intentionally so it passes through the hole here. So I'm just going to say this one, I can just use create line here. I'm going to snap to the endpoint, so shift, right click, endpoint. And I'm going to set my ortho mode on by hitting my F8 key. You should know some of these F keys. F8, that means I can only draw east or west. I'm going to pull to the east, and I'm going to type in a distance of 300. Hit enter. See how that line passes through the hole? And now we're just going to draw a line connecting these two endpoints here and here. So line, create line. You may have to use your shift, right click, choose endpoint, shift, right click, endpoint. Whoops. I screwed that last one up, sorry. Create line, endpoint, endpoint. I have to be a little more careful. There we go. We have our is it 5? 1, 2, 3. No, it's 4 tangents. So we have 4 tangents now. And I think I still have time. Let's go ahead and put some horizontal circular curves in the between these tangents. Actually, I think I'll save that for the next video. So let's go ahead and create these 1, 2, 3, 4 tangents. Remember, this line here is a perpendicular bisector. It's 150 feet long, and this is a perpendicular bisector, and it's 70 feet long. Now, it never hurts to just list all these lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right click. Actually, the way to do it would be to select all of those lines. Sorry. I'll just select them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right click and choose properties. And notice that the start Z and the end Z for every line is 0. And that's what you want to be sure of. I'll be shooting another video out there shortly. Thanks.